Hey everybody, it's Rob with RobFindsTreasure, and I thought I would do kind of a different nickel hunt for you today. I've got 3 boxes of nickels, so I've got 150 rolls to look through. There's 40 nickels and 50 rolls, so 2,000 nickels per box. We've got 6,000 nickels to hunt. Now this is my silver nickel bank, where I get mostly silver nickels compared to buffalo nickels. So that's a good thing, because what I want to do is hunt each of these boxes one at a time and try to fill up this Dansco Jefferson Nickels album. So that's right, as I said in the intro, I want to try to fill up this Dansco Jefferson Nickels album. It goes from 1938 all the way to 1999. Now I had to write in this page because this book was made in 1987. So it's a little bit outdated, but I can get to 1999D, and technically I could put 2000 in here as well, but it would drive me crazy not having a 2000D. So we're going to stop at 1999. Obviously, this book does not account for any proofs and things like that or any varieties, so we'll be looking for those anyway during the hunt. But I thought it'd be really, really cool if we go ahead and see how much of this book we can fill up with these 3 boxes. Now, if I don't fill the book up, which is unlikely for just 3 boxes, we'll see what kind of progress we make, and maybe I'll continue this to see how many boxes it does take to fill it up. Now, I would imagine everything in the 90s and the 80s will be pretty simple to get in these 3 boxes, and maybe even most of the 70s and 60s. But as we move further back, it will get tough, especially the Silver War nickel years, and the key dates like 50D, 38D and S, 39D and S. All those will be tough to find as well. Now, I am kind of meticulous, so I will be pulling out the best examples that I can find to put in the book. So how I'm going to do it is I'm going to hunt this first box first, and I'll just stack up the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, and the 60s, and then my regular finds I'll put to the left. And then what we'll do is after every 10 rolls, if we have one that I think is good enough for the book, we'll put it in and I'll give you a small update. Now again, this will be at least a 3-part series. This is part 1. So I've got to get 2 of these off the table. I've got to get this one opened up live, and we'll begin the hunt. I'll be right back when I'm ready to open this live. All right, let's do a live opening. I already looked at the holes in the bottom. I saw a mix of newer design and older design Jeffersons, but I didn't see any war nickels, buffalo nickels, V nickels, things like that. Nothing exciting on the bottom. And we'll just see if we have any good enders on the top, if I can open it one-handed. All right, there we go. And that looks a little suspicious, but I don't see any obvious enders. But again, this one has an odd tint to it, so be curious to see what that one is. Either way, box is primed to hunt. Let's get the hunt started. So we're 5 rolls in, and I'm realizing there's a lot of 90s. That's the 90s, 80s, 70s, and 60s. We have not found anything worth keeping as far as the 50s and back yet, so don't have any finds to show you. Thought what I would do is I'd comb through these 90s really quick just to weed down the stack and see which are the best ones that I have from every year in mint, and then start sticking some in the album. I'll be right back after I've done that. So I've got the nickels sorted 99, 98, 97, all the way down to 1990. We only got 190 and no 93s. Now I'm going to choose the best of each year in mint, like I said, and plug them in the book. If I only have one of, let's say, a Philadelphia mint and it's pretty trashy, I won't put it in the book. But if it's decent enough, we'll slot it in. I'll bring it back and we'll see how the 90s look. All right, 5 rolls are done, and this is what we got. We still need a 93 P&D. We do need a 96 P, because even though I do have one over here, it's not in the best shape. Look at the damage on the top of the rim. So I'm not going to put it in. And then I also have a 1998 P, which has some exterior damage as well, as you can see under his eye. So I didn't want to put that one in. So really all I need is a better example of 96 and 98 and 93s altogether, plus a 1990 P. The reason why I did the 90s first is it'll make it a lot easier to sort while I'm hunting, because I know the dates that I need. We'll work on the 80s when I finish 10 rolls and I've got a little bigger sample set to go with. All right, back to the hunt. Roll number 7, and we have our first 40s find of the box. 1946, Denver. Now, as an FYI, I won't be showing the 50s finds to save on time since I'll be showing the book and filling it up. But I will stack the 50s, and unless I run across a key date or something, of course, like a 50 or 50D or any of the semi-keys, I will definitely bring in. All right, we're 10 rolls in. I did find a 55D, which I added to the 50s. Now let's get those 90s and 80s updated and see how the book looks next. For the 90s, I was able to get a 1990P and a 93D. Still no 93P yet, and I still have the ugly 96 and 98Ps over there, which I won't update. Now I gotta do the 80s. So I've gone through the 80s. These are ones that would make it in the book if I can't find a better one, because I'm being picky. You can see we've got a little bit of the early 80s and lots of holes. So we're gonna keep adding to the 80s. Like I said, I don't really wanna add in ones that I would wanna take back out. And again, there's probably some in here that would be upgraded if I was making this for a personal collection, but I'm just making it for fun, and I just want coins that are nice enough to display okay. Let's go with 5 more rolls, or if we can find more finds. Roll number 11, and we will have another 40s nickel. This one's a 1948 Philadelphia. Well, I decided to keep hunting since 5 rolls wasn't enough coins to really compare to the album. So we did 10 rolls. But before I do the album comparison, isn't it crazy to think I've only got 3 finds in the 50s and 40s through 20 rolls? Good thing I'm doing something else with this box because it is a slow box. Let me comb through the 90s and 80s one more time, see if we have any updates. All right, we still got a few coins in the 80s and 90s that I could put in the book, but now we've got most of the 80s done other than an 85P, 86P, and 86D. And then, of course, we still need a 93P and a 96P, but I did add the 98P. So we're getting close, getting easier to sort through the rolls. The 70s are getting big. I think I will do 5 more rolls, and we'll do a start on the 70s to see where we're at. And hopefully, we find some more oldies. Roll 22 of the hunt, and this is going to help the oldies because we just found a 1939 nickel. Probably Philadelphia. If it is, we'll check for the DDR, but it'd be nice to get a key date right away. Not a key date. It is a Philadelphia mint, but we would need it for the book. Let's just double check in case there's a DDR, and I don't see it. You would see it heavily on the Monticello and 5 cents words. And just to make sure, yeah, 1939P, first from the 30s in the box. Roll 23, another oldie, a 1940 Philadelphia. Roll 25 is going to yield a 50s nickel, and I'm only showing it because we're almost at the halfway point. A 52 Denver, second from the 50s. After I finish this roll, I'm going to update if I have any for the 80s and 90s and do the 70s and bring it back in. So once again, we have some 70s leftovers that probably could go in the book, but I don't like them just yet. But we did make a nice dent. We still need a 70D, but we got a nice 70S. Obviously, we need some of the earlier 70s, but we've got a lot of the mid-70s done, and then a lot of the late 70s are still needed as well. Not too bad of a start. Let's do 5 more rolls and see if we can update any more, and it's getting close to time to do the 60s next. Roll 27, we will have another 40s nickel. We found a 40s last time, but this one's an S, and I think the other one was a Denver. We'll take it. All right, I've done 10 more rolls. We're done with 35. Really light box. I did add some more 50s, including this stunner of a 1957. No steps really to speak of, though. Either way, that'll be a nice addition to the album. Let me get the 70s done and the 60s started and update the album. So I've got a handful in the 60s left that do fill slots in the book, but I'm going to be picky a little bit on the 60s. I did stuff in that 57. It's just too nice not to put in there. All we filled in the 60s so far is a 65, 66, 68 DNS, and that's it. Only 4 in the 60s. But I do have like 4 or 5 other coins I could put in. Just want to give it more time. Now, let's get back to the hunt. Roll 37, and we've got another oldie. A 1941 Philly, and we didn't have that for the 40s. Roll number 41, and we have our first foreign of the box. It's a Canadian nickel with the beaver on the back, 1986. Very next roll, another beaver. This one, a pretty nice 1987. We'll take it. Roll 45, we're gonna get another 40s nickel, and I don't know if we had the 48 Denver like last time, but either way, it's another from the 40s. Well, we finished that first nickel box, and it was definitely light on the older Jeffersons, but you know what? It works out because it had a lot of the other years we needed. Now, some of these are in pretty bad shape, and some of these will fill a spot in the book, so at this point, because we're done with the box, I'll likely go ahead and fill the spots, but if anything is too terrible, we'll definitely look for it in box 2. I'll give you a wrap up from the book when the book's filled. I will point out, though, that I did find 109D with those 2 Canadians that won't make the book. Let me get the book updated and see what we did. All right, the book is updated. Just a quick glance, because we will continue to do this over the next 2 boxes and see what we can get. But I've got all the 90s completed, all the 80s completed. We are missing a 69S on page 3 of the book. And then it gets a little tougher. Obviously, we were able to fill in a few dates in here with that really nice 57P as well. Crazy. But a lot of holes. I'm hoping that the next couple of boxes produce more of the older Jeffersons so we can start filling those up. And we did get Buffalo Skunked and Silver Skunked in this box. Oh well, it happens. Remember, this is at minimum a 3-part series, and should I get pretty close to filling the book, maybe we'll do additional boxes. Hopefully you enjoyed this hunt and fill, if you will. If you did, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. Stay tuned for parts 2 and 3 coming out shortly. And as always, everyone, happy hunting, and thanks for watching.